Over the past 2 years, we have sent over 2 million cold emails and generated over $7 million in revenue for our clients. And because I also want you to make hundreds of thousands of dollars using cold email, I'll be showing you step by step from A to Z exactly how to do it. So make sure that you've got a pen and paper. You're going to write down everything that I'm about to show you. And before jumping into the whole process, there's going to be 8 specific tools that you need to have in order to maximize the success that you have with cold email. Without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into the video. So jumping into the guide of things, I really wanted to break everything down as clear cut as can be. And the best way to look at it, in order to be successful with cold email, you've really got to break down every good campaign into 4 specific pillars. On this guide here, I'll be sharing it. Just look in the description below. You'll find a whole link to this Notion guide here. And then within each of the 4 pillars, you also have links that go out to separate web pages. So if you want to check out any of the in-depth processes behind each of these pillars, you're more than welcome to do so. So looking at the 4 pillars, really every cold email campaign is going to be broken down into good systems. That's going to be the cold email infrastructure that you're using to physically send out mass volume of emails. You're going to need to have a good offer, good copywriting, good scripts. You're also going to need to have good data. Data might evidently be the most important and crucial aspect of every cold email campaign. And then lastly, people always underestimate how much volume you need to send with cold email. But the 4th pillar is going to be volume and deliverability, making sure that the emails that you're sending are actually landing in the inbox, not going to spam. And you need to send high volume in order to get a high number of meetings on your calendar every single month. So one thing I wanted to note here is that the offer and the scripts really go hand in hand with the data. So, before fully committing to one angle or going after one specific market or pulling one set of data, you want to make sure that you have a plan for the other angle here. So what I mean by that is if you plan on reaching out to people from a specific persona and you plan on writing scripts and doing the copywriting with a great message to, go after that specific persona, you do want to make sure that you're able to pull the data that is going to support it. Because one of the most important things is that you're reaching out to people with the right message at the right time and that you're reaching out to the right people. If those two are conflicted or are not matching up with each other, you are going to see a huge plummet in your conversion rates. So I did want to point that out. Once again, the offer and the scripts have to go hand in hand with the data. If you have bad data and good scripts, it's not going to matter because you're not reaching out to the right people. So jumping into the tech stack, as I'd mentioned, you're going to need 8 tools really. For the email sending, like automating the amount of emails that you're sending and doing it at scale, you're going to want Smartly.ai. That's the email sending software that we use. It automates the inbox management process so you could handle responses in high volume, but it also allows you to set up email sequences where you could send out a multitude of emails step by step and distinguish, split testing, how frequently you want to send these emails. ChatGPT is going to be essential for doing market research and figuring out the pain points that your prospects have and how your solution can actually address those problems. Because ultimately what you want to do is you want to build a gap of where your prospect is now, where they ideally want to be. And you want to make that gap as large as possible. And the only way for them to get from one end to the other is by crossing the bridge. You, in this sense, are that bridge. In terms of the list building process, I have a couple of tools listed out here. There's going to be Ocean.io, Apollo.io, and then we have a couple of email enrichment tools such as FindEmail.com, BetterContact.rocks. I will jump into that process more. And then for verifying your emails, you're going to want to use MillionVerifier.com. And then for verifying catch-alls, which I'll jump to in the video, is going to be Scrubby.io. Lastly, for the final touch, Clay.com is our absolute favorite tool. If you're looking to pull data and pull key points and personalize your messages so that it's so relevant that people have no choice but to think that you're handpicking and writing these personalization tactics one by one, Clay is going to be the tool to do it. We'll also cover that. So looking back at the 4 pillars, the first one we're going to address is good systems. And in pillar 1, I want to show you how the cold email infrastructure really works and what you need to be able to send emails at scale. And people always underestimate how many inboxes that they actually need to be sending emails from. They'll typically set up, 2 to 5 different email accounts and send anywhere from 50 to 150 emails a day. And that's just not going to get the job done. In order to really book meetings on a consistent basis, so you're having 10 plus meetings every single month, you're going to need to be reaching out to thousands of people every single month. And in order to do so and not land in spam, you need to have a ton of email accounts. And so this diagram that I'm showing you right here really breaks out what things are going to look like. Essentially, you need to, and I always recommend setting up your accounts through Outlook as opposed to Gmail. But essentially, you're going to need to have an admin Outlook panel, and you're going to need to set up a bunch of subdomains. So I've broken out what this diagram looks like, but essentially you're going to want to have a bunch of subdomain accounts that forward to your main website. You never want to be sending emails from your main domain. So in my case, my company's website is buzzly.io. I'm not reaching out to people from my nick@buzzly.io account. I'm reaching out to people from nick@getbuzzly.com, nick@trybuzzly.com, and anytime somebody receives a cold email from one of those email accounts, if they copy and paste it, put it in their browser, it's going to forward them and reroute them to my main website. And the reason we do that is to keep your domain reputation, health, safe. You don't want to ever have to, burn your domain and then go through the whole process of setting up a new website. You just don't do that. And for that reason, you set up this cold email infrastructure. Now, for every domain that you set up, and I could zoom in here just a little bit, you're going to want to set up 2 email accounts for each domain. So if I have nick@getbuzzly.com, then I could have, Nick and nickk@getbuzzly.com. And essentially, you're going to want to set up at least 20 inboxes, and you're going to want to have all of these forward to a master inbox. And what I mean by that is anytime that you're sending emails from, 20 plus different email accounts, you want to make sure that the responses are all forwarding to one inbox. That way you have a one placeholder where you could log into an account and see all the responses that you've gotten from one platform. Lucky for you, SmartLead makes it very easy, and you could connect all your email accounts. It'll warm up your email accounts for you, and you could also respond to all the emails directly from within the platform. Another thing to point out is that you do need to set up your anti-spam custom name records. Those are the DNS settings, such as SPF, DKIM, DMARC. And you need to set these up in the admin panel of Outlook or whatever your hosting provider is. Because if you don't do so, you're going to see that your open rates are probably around 30, 20, maybe even 10%. And your emails are simply not getting delivered to the person you want to reach out to. So for that reason, you need to make sure that you're setting up these custom name records. I'm not going to walk through this whole tool here, but if you want the full guide breakdown of how to set those up, the technical step-by-step process, then I do have a whole guide on setting up your Outlook accounts. And then lastly, once you have those set up, you want to make sure that you're using an email warm-up tool or an email sending software like we use SmartLead, and warm up those email accounts for 1.5 to 2 weeks. That's essentially just sending emails back and forth, building up credibility within the new fresh domains that you sent out, because you simply can't be just sending out high volume of emails from the get-go when you first set up accounts. That's pillar number 1 in a high-level overview. Again, if you want the full step-by-step process on setting these up, the cold email infrastructure setup is right here. You could click and link out to that. The second pillar is going to be having a good offer and scripts. And in order to figure out how we're going to position our service or our product, we're going to use ChatGPT, and we're going to feed it specific prompts to really figure out what are the biggest pain points, that my prospect is dealing with, and how does my solution address those pain points? Because that's going to really help you tailor your message and stand out. And in order to do so, I have set up a couple of different questions here, and I've listed out the prompts that you're going to want to feed ChatGPT. But before jumping into that, a term that we like to use is known as poking the bear. When you're reaching out to a prospect, rather than going in with a generic compliment like we see so many people do, like, hey Nick, I saw that you run BuzzLead and love some of your case studies that you have. It's non-generic, it's non-personalized, and people just smell that you're sending the same thing across the board to everybody else. So instead of that, we like to poke the bear and lead with pain. We like to call out a problem that we know that they have and a problem that we know our solution can address, because it's really just going to hit them where it hurts. It's going to grab their attention. And then if they are in the need for a solution, you have the perfect resolution for that. So in order to come up with those pain points, we're going to dive into ChatGPT here. And I've already got an example built out here. But in this example, let's say that my client or myself, I'm selling content copywriting services. So the first prompt that I'm going to feed ChatGPT would be, who would stand out the most to benefit from our service of providing copywriting content? Then ChatGPT is going to give you an idea of who are some good possible target personas that you want to go after and pitch your services to. We see small to medium sized businesses, startups, marketing agencies, e-commerce platforms, B2B companies. And so then we want to pry into that a little bit more. So we know who would be a good fit to pitch our services to, but we want to figure out what are the typical challenges that those businesses encounter by not having high performing copywriting content for their website, their blogs, email marketing, job descriptions, etc. And now this is where things start to get interesting, because ChatGPT is going to tell you, reasons why them not having a solution in place or having somebody develop killer copywriting for whatever aspect of their business or marketing efforts they need, how it's actually like hurting their business. And we could see that there's low engagement. Maybe people aren't getting a lot of inbound opportunities, poor conversion rates because people don't see that there's credibility behind the company that is reaching out to them, weak brand perception, ineffective SEO, limited growth in audience. These are all big things that are keeping business owners up at night. And it might even be things that they don't realize that they're missing out on because they don't have a copywriter for this specific example. You're going to need to tweak and iterate exactly what you're feeding into ChatGPT, but the 3 prompts that I've given you are killer for at least getting your grounds work and understanding where you want to kind of like take your scripts and how you want to do your targeting for the campaigns. Now we're taking it a level deeper and we'll say, how would you make those pain points engaging questions? So ChatGPT's response: turning the pain points associated with poor copywriting into engaging questions can be compelling to draw their attention or poking the bear and provoke thoughts among potential clients. So here's some examples. It's literally giving me questions of what you could potentially use to poke the bear. Are your current marketing materials capturing and holding your audience's attention effectively? How well is your content converting visitors into customers? Are you satisfied with your current conversion rates? And it just gives a whole bunch of different examples. You want to take one of these and figure out which poke is going to hurt the bear the most, for example. And so this really gives you the ideation of where you want to go and how you could poke the bear and really start off these campaigns. And jumping back into the guide here, I've listed out a bunch of email templates that you could use that are kick-ass. We've used them for our own agency and they absolutely print meetings. I'm not going to walk through all of these, but I do want to give you a couple of examples, but you're going to have access, once again, linked down to the description. You'll see this whole guide here. Plug and play your own offer and your own unique mechanisms. But if you use these templates, I guarantee you with these strategies, you're going to book meetings here. Again, I like to do a 3 to 5 step email sequence. What that means is I'm sending 5 different emails, and using smartly.ai, you can automate the sending of those. But I like to do, day 1, I'll send the first message, then 3 to 4 days later, I'll send the next email. 3 to 4 days after that, I'll send the third email, and then so on and so forth. You can see it listed out here. But looking at the 5 email templates, you could steal these and then use the inputs that you got from ChatGPT. But the first one, future state. This is essentially just trying to get your prospect to picture what things could be like if they didn't have to deal with the problem that your solution is helping them address. So to put it into picture here, hey John, I noticed that you oversee content marketing. Are you currently struggling with, turning your website visitors into paying customers? Whatever you want to plug in there, again, it's going to come from your ChatGPT prompts. We've been working with ed tech companies to offer content, copywriting services, and produce you with an unlimited amount of content for whatever you need, XYZ, every single month. Picture this, and then you could list out 3 different examples of ideal outcomes that you think that they'll probably want to have that your service can help them get. That's not a fantasy. That's just what we did for, BuzzLead and Strat Media. Are you totally opposed to me sharing a resource on how we did it? Now we're providing value to let them see, hey, we're not asking for a meeting here. We're just telling you what we've already done, how it can benefit you, trying to get you to picture it. Are you interested in seeing or learning more about how we did it? The observation angle, hey John, I noticed, and then you're going to plug in current problem that most of your clients are having, even though why it's so crucial, decided to reach out because we plug in your case study here. We're now helping a handful of companies like yours achieve desired outcome, land more high quality applicants due to our job descriptions that we're posting on your behalf. Whatever you want to plug in there. Mind if I send a quick resource on how we did it? Or can I send you more information on this? And I'm not going to run through all of these, but you do have the templates to, plug and play. I want to keep this video at least not too long-winded here, but essentially create a 3 to 5 step email sequence. Use ChatGPT for the market research. You're going to plug in what your offer is, who would be good to, reach out to, who are the good target markets for it, how your solution can help them bridge the gap of where they are to their ideal outcome, where they want to be, and then use these different templates. And I guarantee you're going to see some results. Now, if you want more than just these templates and you want a full-on guide of how you can position your offer, how you can write copywriting scripts that kick ass simply, then we actually have a whole copywriting guide that my business partner Troy put together. So you could just link out to that and you'll find it here. Pillar number 3, here we are jumping into the data. And I love the data because the data is what I handle for our agency. And the data is really an art, like it's an art of list building. There's multiple different ways, methods that you could create a killer lead list, but it takes trial, it takes error, and it takes creativity. And like I said before, you want to make sure that your copywriting and your data always go hand in hand. You don't want to put all this effort into creating a killer copywriting script sequence only to find out that you can't find the data that is going to make it make sense. So a lot of times I will cross-check and make sure that we can find the data. We have a couple of different options of where we can get it before my business partner Troy goes and writes the whole scripts. But jumping into the good data, really, I have a couple of tools that we're going to jump into, but there is a process called waterfall enrichment, which I will jump into. But essentially, you don't want to be relying on just one database in order to find all the emails that you're reaching out to. You want to cross-check multiple different databases. And the reason being is these data sources are getting their data from another source, and one might not have connections to this database, and it might be lacking on data. So for that reason, you want to make sure that you're checking here, checking this database that might be sourcing the data elsewhere. And you just want to make sure that you're not leaving leads on the table. You know, there's a ton of untouched leads that people don't reach out to simply because they're relying on just one platform, you know, like Apollo to get all of their data. But looking at a couple of really good low-hanging fruit angles that you could take for building out lead lists. The first things that I like to look at is who are my biggest competitors? Because I want to target their customers. And let's say that I run a boutique agency. For example, BuzzLead. Maybe a great starting point would be to go after all customers of Science, which is a massive lead generation company out there. And what I would want to do is figure out all the pain points that I know their customers are probably dealing with, assuming that my business can overpower them with that specific problem that they're having. Because when I reach out to these people, I want to point out that I know you're a customer of Science in this case, and I'm sure you're probably dealing with the lack of customer support that I've heard other customers like X, Y, and Z, you know, have. But essentially, you want to poke the bear, you know, reach out to big competitors because you know that you're going to have strengths and advantages over them in some aspect. So that's a really good low-hanging fruit. And again, you can apply this to any aspect. If you sell a small CRM solution, maybe you go after all HubSpot customers, knowing that they're probably lacking in customer service or they're lacking in support dealing with people that are across seas. Whatever the issue may be, you want to be able to poke that issue and tell them how you can overcome that and how your service is going to be a better fit for them, and then prove that you were able to do that with customer case studies. Or I helped Bill from Bill Nye the Science Guy.com address this issue. You know, he was working with HubSpot as well, and we were able to help him with XYZ. However you want to tailor that, just giving you an example there. Another angle is you could look at different products or services that your solution complements well with. So one of our clients, you know, they sell a restaurant marketing solution. It's like a restaurant marketing platform, and they integrate with different platforms like Stripe or Toast, which is a POS system. So a great angle for us to take has always been going after Toast customers, letting them know that, hey, I see that you're a Toast customer and our restaurant marketing platform actually integrates with Toast, but we could also do X, Y, and Z for you. And that could kind of be like your foot in the door to make that pitch. Then you could look at website plugins, like maybe you're looking to target customers who are hosting their website on Shopify.com. That's an easy angle. You could use a tool like builtwith.com, and you could find customers that have specific tech stacks directly on their website. Another strong angle you could take is people who are associated with specific LinkedIn groups or Facebook groups. One of our clients who had a service for value-added resellers of IT hardware, we simply went into a LinkedIn group that was specifically labeled value-added resellers of IT hardware. And we just reached out to all those people. We joined the group and we let them know, hey, we're also a member of the value-added resellers of IT hardware. Thought it made sense to reach out because we have a platform that XYZ. Those are just some high-level overviews of what you can do, low-hanging fruit. But jumping into the whole process, like once you figure out where you're going to source your data, I want to show you about the waterfall enrichment process. And essentially, like I had mentioned, you don't want to rely on one database for getting all your data. You want to rely on multiple databases. And we call it a waterfall enrichment process because first you're going to check location 1. Next, you're going to check location 2 if you can't find the emails, then location 3, And I have this little diagram out here because you're gonna look to find the email from your first data source. And I've actually written out the exact steps that I like to use because I typically like to start my waterfall enrichment with Apollo.io. It's one of the cheapest platforms. They've got access to hundreds of millions of different companies and leads. So that's a good starting point. Once I find a lead list, Apollo will give you the contacts for a lot of, leads that might not necessarily have the email addresses. So, I'll go ahead and I'll export all of the leads from Apollo, regardless of if they have an email or if they don't. When I export those contacts, any of the contacts or the leads that I found that do not have an email address, I will run those through another tool called findemail.com. And I have other videos that actually show you how to do this whole waterfall enrichment process. But if I can't find the emails from findemail.com, and that's cross-checking Sales Navigator, it's cross-check Apollo and other databases to see if it can find the email address, then you could run that through a third tool, which I love to use. It's called bettercontact.rocks. This tool actually waterfall enriches 15 different databases. So maybe Apollo didn't have the contact, maybe SalesNav didn't have the contact, maybe Snav.io or Snow.io, maybe Lucia or ZoomInfo. It cross-checks all these different platforms, and it's really maximizing the resources of where you can try to find those email addresses. And at this point now, you have done waterfall enrichment across more than 17 different platforms between the 3 tools that I just showed you. And now it's just time to simply go ahead and verify and validate your email addresses. So we're going to accumulate all of the leads that we have with email addresses, and we're going to run those through a tool called millionverifier.com. And I know if I'm losing you, I have all of these steps listed out right here. You could run that lead list directly through millionverifier.com. It's going to give you 3 different results: either okay, deliverable, that means that the emails are safe to send to; risky or catch-all, that means that the servers cannot tell if those emails are actually safe to send emails to. So you're gonna have to save those contacts, and we'll jump into the next tool of how you can actually get those validated right after this. And then the third result is going to be bad or undeliverable. Those are trash emails. You do not want to send emails to them, because if you do, your bounce rates are going to skyrocket. You're going to kill your domain reputation, and your campaign performance is ultimately going to go flat. So last step of this waterfall enrichment process is going to be taking those risky or catch-all emails. A lot of people skip this step, but I promise you it is low-hanging fruit, because people don't want to take the extra time of validating and verifying these emails. But if you take those risky or catch-all emails and run them through a tool called Scrubby.io, you're gonna get a gold mine of leads that haven't been contacted, and it'll validate, verify those catch-alls, and make sure that they are safe to send. And the ones that aren't, those will be trashed. But essentially now you have cross-checked 17 different databases, you have tons of leads, and you're gonna be landing in people's regular email inboxes. You're not gonna be landing in spam, assuming you follow all these different processes now. So you've got the systems, you've got the offer and the copywriting scripts, you've got good data, and there's many ways to do, list building. So I actually have a little swipe file right here. If you want to see all my favorite tools and see me walking through how I use those tools, then just link right over here, the B2B list building swipe file. You'll see video walkthroughs, explaining what I don't have the time to explain right here in this video. Last step, and then we'll wrap things up here, is going to be volume and deliverability. Getting straight to it, you need to send more emails than you think you actually need to. Cold email is a numbers game, assuming that you have all of the other pillars distinguished, but pillar number 4 is just volume and deliverability. And I've broken out kind of like the numbers of how you can determine how many emails do I need to send, how many email accounts do I need to send. But essentially, if you want to have your calendar stacked with 10 plus meetings on a monthly basis, you are absolutely going to have to be reaching out to anywhere from 3,000 to 5,000 prospects, individual leads every single month in order to get those results. And that's assuming that all the other pillars are checked through and that you've actually gone through the checklist of everything. Now, if you want to, and I kind of broke out like the numbers that you can go by, but if you set up 20 email accounts, you can reach out to 3,000 to 4,000 leads a month. If you have 40 email accounts, 5,000 to 6,000 leads a month. 30 email accounts, then you could start reaching out to, or 60 email accounts, you could start reaching out to 7,000 to 8,000 different leads a month. And remember, these have automated follow-ups. So you're really sending out whatever that number is times 3 to 5. You always want to make sure that you're not sending more than 30 emails a day per email account. So that is why it's so crucial to set up subdomains that forward to your main website and then set up 1 to 2 email accounts for each of those subdomains. You need to plug in your anti-spam custom DNS records like I had mentioned above. And then I've put together a little email deliverability checklist to do at scale. 1, keep your emails short. Avoid any sort of like spam trigger words like flash sale or discount or buy. I've listed them out here. Another thing is keep an eye on your bounce rates. If you see that your bounce rates are over 4%, immediately pause your campaigns, re-verify your emails, because the problem is that you probably didn't validate the emails that you're using, and you cannot rely on purchasing a list from somebody else and them telling you that the emails are verified, because even a platform like Apollo will say that the emails are verified when in reality 30 to 40% of those are not. So make sure to use Million Verifier, make sure to use Scrubby, and maximize the deliverability. A couple of other things to note: using spin tags in your subject lines, your first lines, and your call to actions to diversify how your message is actually being broadcasted to the leads is going to be crucial. So I've listed some examples here. What that means is really like, I'm saying the same message to the person. So I'm addressing somebody, hi Nick. It could be hello Nick. Hey Nick, good afternoon Nick. I'm saying the same thing to Nick, but this is basically just fooling the servers to not think that you're spamming people by sending 10,000 of the same exact message. You could also do the same thing for your call to actions. Any interest in learning how it works? Open to chatting more about your client link building needs? Any interest in seeing if we might be able to help your business and clients? Again, we're just sending pretty much the same type of call to action message with a couple of different variations of it. You do not want to be sending links or pictures or images within your cold email copy, particularly with the first email. Anytime that you send links or copy links in there, it really is triggering the email service to flag you, mark you as spam, and you're not going to reach the inbox. So keep it simple, plain text only. If you want to include your booking link, make sure that you're not doing it in the first email. Save it for the second, third, and fourth. But still, I would advise booking emails manually by asking people when are they available to meet and then manually booking them in yourself. Disable open tracking. Open tracking rates are so overused and people stress over them, the open rates, and making sure that you're having a 90% plus open rate when all you're doing is you're putting an HTML link in your email and it's lowering your deliverability without you even realizing it. It's counterproductive, counterintuitive. So disable your open tracking rates and focus more on your responses and your conversions as opposed to focusing on the open rates. It really doesn't matter. Ever since my agency stopped tracking open rates, we've seen our conversions skyrocket. Here's just some extra bonuses here, but if you want to run inbox placement tests, this is essentially testing where your emails are landing. You could send emails to find@myips.io. Just send an email there and it's going to give you a report back and it's going to say that your emails are either landing in spam or they're 5 out of 5 healthy. It's good to run those periodically. And then lastly, like we've seen people that will rotate the inboxes and essentially just use specific email accounts for specific campaigns. And every month they're rotating which email accounts they're using for those campaigns, just so they're not burning out the email accounts. They're giving them a break to utilize the Smart Lead warm-up. But anyway, I'm not gonna dive into all this too much more. I do have another full guide breakdown on email deliverability and volume and just like how you can scale your cold email and do it at a safe level so your emails are landing in the inbox and not in spam. You could just click on that link right here. And that really breaks me through the 4 pillars. So again, just jumping back up to the top, 4 pillars of every good campaign is going to be good systems, good offer and scripts, good data, and then making sure that you have volume and deliverability. Those 4 things, if you're making sure that you're doing those correctly, you are going to get conversion rates with your cold emails. We've done it ourselves for over 2 years. Again, generated over $7 million from cold email. So I know it works. So as you can see, guys, running a successful cold email takes a lot of trial and error, and the process itself is really not that easy. So if you want to avoid having to do all this yourself and you'd rather just have 8 to 20 qualified sales meetings booked in your calendar every single month on a performance basis, then check the description below. Check us out at buzzlead.io. We'll have a conversation, see if we can help you scale your business with cold email, and hope you all found value in this video. I will see you in the next one. Thanks so much, guys.